Hey YouTube, Ryo here. Um, it's actually pretty late at night, and I was out with some friends, and uh, one of them actually asked me a question that got me kind of thinking about, my personal life choices and that sort of thing. And I just decided I'm gonna go ahead and share it. Um, they asked me, why I think I never found anyone to be with. Well, on its face, it's a pretty simple answer. I just never found anyone that I could connect with. Um, or should I say, I never found anyone that could connect with me. Um, because the thing is, I'm actually a very flexible person when it comes to um, developing affection and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that I just develop it with anyone that I meet, but as far as the emotional aspect of it, I'm actually fairly available to people at that point. But the problem is a lot of people, when they get with someone, they want that person to change consistently. And I'm talking about like change in ways that not necessarily that person wants to change, but the way that they want that person to change. And I see that as a major flaw with a lot of our society. I mean, yeah, every society has that, and each person, to a degree, does that. I mean, hell, I'm not different in that regard. So I can't sit there and say that I'm not, because that would be an absolute lie. But I mean, when there's, specific little habits that maybe you want the person to change, all right, that's fine. That's okay, because those habits can be changed. And if they're bad habits, of course, you're going to want that person to change those bad habits. But it's when you start wanting the person to change what's at their core, the core pieces of their personality. For example, like me, when I'm in a relationship, I'm actually a very affectionate person. And what I mean by that is I crave that physical closeness. Crave spending time with my significant other. Do I have to be around my significant other at all times? Hell no. I recognize that, personal time, time apart is actually a very necessary thing. But the thing is if I've spent half of the day away from that person, like let's say I've worked my 8 hour shift, they've gone and worked their 8 hour shift as well. And, just before that, we, spent 8 hours sleeping. You don't need more time than that separated, typically. I mean, not unless you're in a fight, at which point being separated isn't exactly the best course. I mean, separating it first, okay, fine. And I'm not talking about separating as in, well, I think we should go see other people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, taking an hour or two, being away from the person, gather your thoughts. But then you have to go back and try to work out that problem. A lot of people are unwilling to do that last part. Because the thing is at that point, you have to, more often than not, admit that you're somewhat at fault. Because very rarely are problems strictly one-sided. Even when it comes to the cheating aspect of it, and that is actually there in some of these excuses that cheaters use. Like, oh well, this person was neglecting me. Oh, this person didn't make me feel this way. All right, but also at the same time, you have to admit when you're at fault. I mean, were you seriously doing everything that you could to get this person to want to do those things for you, to not neglect you, to give you that time of day? And those were questions that I actually asked myself when I've been cheated on in the past. And at that point, I'm like, no, actually, I did go out of my way to make this person feel special, make this person feel wanted. There are some people that can't say that they did all of that. But you have to be honest with yourself. You can't sit there and just say, oh, well, I did everything in my power. If you're sitting there and you're saying that, more than likely, no. Because the thing is once you sit there and throw on the everything in my power bit, that means you're trying to blame some cosmic force or, whatever for your failures. And I'm just using that as an example. This goes along with other aspects. But the thing is I actually need someone similar to me. I have one of those personalities where it's actually not romantically compatible with a lot of people. And I openly admit that. I realize it. I accept it. But I'm not going to try to change my core personality. Everyone who's gone through and tried to do that, everyone who's gone through and tried to do it in experiments, where you could observe both the positive and negative results from it, the results were overwhelmingly negative. I mean, take that woman who went ahead and decided to live for several months as a man. Look at the severe damage that it caused her. Look at all of the therapy that it took for her to recover just from a few months. She had to do therapy for years. That's what happens when you try to change a core part of your personality. But the thing is one of my friends sat there and asked, well, what are you looking for in another person? Because my friends are always trying to hook me up with someone. And I'm like, stop. It's something that just has to kind of naturally happen. I mean, yeah, if you hook me up with someone, yeah, we may get along for a little bit until we come across that first thing, and then the person's gonna fucking run. Because they weren't invested in it to begin with. It's a temporary thing. And I don't like doing temporary dating. Is any relationship going to be without its problems? No. I mean, when you've got two different people, you're going to have issues. It's whether or not those people feel that the relationship is worth working through those issues. And there's certain things that people are all like, no, that's a one-strike rule, you're gone. And all right, fine. But a lot of people make that initial judgment off of someone. They don't sit there and actually try to get to know a person beforehand. And I'm one of those people. With me, I like to be friends with someone. Like maybe not super close friends, but I mean close enough. Slightly above the level of acquaintance at the very least for a while. So I can get to know them beforehand. I don't like to sit there, meet someone and go, hey, you want to go on a date? No, that's not a good idea. But that's because I'm one of those people, I date exclusively. And there's a lot of people that are all like, oh, well, we're seeing each other, but we're not dating. Cut the crap. At that point, you're sitting there and going, well, I'm not sure about this, and I want to keep my options open. At least be honest about it. But it actually really, it actually got me thinking when they asked me that question, which a lot of people think it's such a simple question. They have this long list that they go down. With me, I don't have a long list. The reason why I don't have a long list is because a lot of the things that I have are reliant on each other anyway. And they're reliant on certain characteristics. So I don't have to have a long list. I'm not sitting there and trying to pinpoint something. My list allows me to actually be flexible. So earlier when I said my personality isn't romantically compatible with a lot of people, it's not that it's not compatible on my end, it's not compatible on their end. Because my personality is rock solid. You're not going to change a core part of my personality. You're not going to convince me to do it. It's something that I have to come to on my own terms. And the thing is no matter who I'm with, or if I'm even with someone, when I decide to make those changes, it is on my time. Because the thing is when you try to mess with your core personality without actually wanting to have those changes, wanting to better yourself, quote unquote, then you're going to fail. It's kind of like with these people who try to quit smoking, and they're trying to quit smoking because, oh, it's too expensive, or, oh, because my significant other doesn't like it, or, whatever, whatnot. Very rarely do they actually succeed. Or should I say, does their success last? Like, those people, yeah, they'll quit for a year or something like that. But then when the going gets tough and they all of a sudden find themselves under that high stress, where do they go? Right back to smoking again. And usually people who get addicted to cigarettes, they have an addictive personality. I mean, that's a pretty safe assumption to make. Like me, I admit, I have an addictive personality, but the only negative thing that I've ever become addicted to was cigarettes. My other addiction is video games. But even then, I limit myself on how many video games I can play. I mean, it's a self-limiter. After a while of playing video games, I'm like, you know what? I want to do something else. Come on, what else can I fucking do? But they asked me what I'm looking for. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll throw my list up here. For one, I want someone that legitimately cares. I mean, actually gives a shit about me as an individual, as a person. And I know that sounds very basic, but it's actually very hard to find nowadays. A lot of people are only out there for themselves. And to a degree, I understand it. But the thing is, if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, you have to learn to care about someone else's feelings. You have to learn that your feelings are not the end-all be-all. What makes you feel good may make them feel like a complete and total piece of shit. Make them feel unloved, unwanted. And at that point, you can't expect them to just consistently have that strength to constantly find their own self-worth with you constantly making them feel like shit. At that point, they're going to make the decision, hey, this person isn't healthy for me anymore. I need to get out of this. And I've seen a lot of guys having to make that decision with a lot of the women that they're with, whether they're married to them or just dating them or even are just friends with them. And I keep, like, the women always sit there and go, well, I did everything I could. No, you didn't. Sorry. It's all like, you can't get away with that lie with me because, like I said, a lot of my female friends, they fully open up to me. They tell me their unfettered thoughts on situations. They tell me the actions that they take. And I'm like, and then they tell me what the guy did, and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and double check with the guy. And usually it was either a misunderstanding or the woman being untrusting, even though she was the one doing the things that would make someone untrustworthy. So, and I'm not saying that only women are at fault here. I mean, my guy friends do the same shit. But I'm just saying, lately, it seems like that's a big thing going on with women crowd. And, they've gotten all these new options. They don't know what to do with it. It's kind of like with a dog that's been chasing cars all of its life, and it finally caught one, I mean, just to go ahead and name that famous quote, They don't know what to do with it. But the thing is, one of them sat there and joked and said, oh, well, it would just be an anime girl. And I was all like, to a degree, yes. Still strong, still independent, but also at the same time caring. A little on the childish side, still got that playfulness and that sort of thing. That's the type of thing that I would want. And the thing is at that point, age isn't a factor. It's not like, oh, well, you have to, be 20 years old, or you have to, be freshly legal. No, no, no. On a biological prerogative, okay, yeah, I'll admit, I'm a guy. Come on. But the thing is, it's actually more of the personality aspect. And a lot of people don't realize how important that actually truly is. And me, I like to be playful every once in a while. I like to, be adventurous. I like to go ahead and experience those new things with my significant other, especially when it's a first time thing for me to experience. I absolutely love that. But the thing is you can't go into it with an expectation that you're going to enjoy everything. Yeah, go out and experience things, but just remember, you're not going to enjoy everything, and you're not going to enjoy everything together. There might be some things that I like to do that my significant other wouldn't like to do. So fine. That's okay. That can be my thing. Like if I'm sitting there playing video games, they don't like to play video games, all right, fine. During our me time, I can sit there and play video games. If they like to go to concerts, well, now we're getting into a little bit of a hazy territory. Because with me, I don't like to go to concerts. I've been to a couple live concerts, never enjoyed myself. But it's because of the culture that comes along with it. So that's an issue in and of itself. And there's some risks that come along with your significant other going alone to those things. Y'all know what I mean. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. So, and, there's just certain things that, for me, are no-fly zones. And I always make those known. It's never something that comes as a surprise. And the thing is if I actually trust my partner, like if they've actually earned my trust, if they've actually had an opportunity to show me that I can trust them, that whether or not they think I'm looking, they're going to not try to get away with any bullshit, then something like that, I'm gonna be completely all for them, going, and that sort of thing. Will I still be nervous? Yes, of course, because I'm a worst case scenarioist. I'm actually a very negative person when it comes to that. But that's because of my personal experiences. And that's another thing that people don't realize, is people have their own personal experiences, and at that point, you're kind of fighting against their past. The question is do you think they're actually worth the fight? Are you willing to go onto that battlefield? Because that's what it really is. A lot of people say love is a battlefield. They're not joking. There's a lot of, hell, love is basically the real life version of Game of Thrones at this point. No, I don't watch Game of Thrones. Never interested me. It's just a whole bunch of people being as nasty as humanly conceivable to each other. It's basically, they went, all right, what are all the most negative aspects of humanity out there, and let's cram them all into one show. On the level of like reality TV type of shit. And I was never a big fan of reality TV. But anywho, now if someone sits there and goes, oh, well, the only reason why, you would want like an anime character is because you're a pedophile, or it's all like, no. In fact, the thing is, it's actually very rare that I would be attracted to anything even remotely close to young. Like me, I refuse to go out with anyone that's under the age of 25. And that's still pushing the fucking boundary, even at that age. I want someone that's probably within 4 years of me in either direction. Because at that point, we're at around the same mindset. But, like with me, a lot of people are all like, oh, well, you're just constantly complaining about not getting enough sex. It's all like, well, the thing is if I'm feeling a physical attraction to someone, of course I'm going to want to have sex. But the thing is when I'm with someone and, you know, we're having sex fairly consistently, and then all of a sudden that just nosedives. Really? Not to mention a lot of, like, actually one of my exes got it. And it was pretty cool. The two of us ended up separating for... We both agreed that it was done, you know. It was actually not a nasty breakup. In fact, we still talk every once in a while, and we're still on good terms. So that can happen. You know, neither one of us cheated on each other. It was just one of those, you know what, we're really not all that compatible. But she did understand one aspect. There are some people out there that they actually show affection to their significant other through lovemaking. Like, that is their primary thing. Because the thing is it's one of those things, you know, a lot of people say talk is cheap. Well, that is. I mean, if a person's sitting there and constantly saying, I love you, I care about you, all that sort of thing, but then their actions are saying the opposite, saying, I don't want to be around you, you know, I don't care about your physical needs, I don't care about your emotional needs. Which are you going to believe? Are you going to believe their actions, or are you going to believe their words? But the thing is like, I actually had one ex that, you know, she ended up cheating on me. She said it was a big mistake, so on and so forth. But with me, that's a one-strike rule. I mean, once you cheat, you're gone. It's an unforgivable thing to me. And I always let them know that right at the beginning. That's one of those things that I don't beat around the bush on. I'm like, look, you cheat on me once, I will never trust you again. Because the one time I trusted one of my exes with it, and I was all like, all right, let's try to work through it. What happened? She cheated again. And so, no, I will not do it. It's one of those things, it's like, once you've done it, it's going to happen again. And so, the only way to get past that is to not do it. Because the thing is they don't have to worry about me cheating. And they'll end up seeing that through my actions. But the thing is I understand that I have to prove it. So whenever I find myself in a situation like that, I don't even think about it. I'm like, nope, not even on the table. I welcome them to put me to the test on it. But you also end up seeing a few issues with some couples where one person has an exceedingly high libido and the other one has almost no libido whatsoever. Well, it comes down to, you know, what's a happy medium? You know, because that one person, they have those physical needs. And the thing is at that point when you're with a significant other, especially if you've got a dating history like me, that physical need actually coincides with an emotional need. You know, it's that feeling of closeness, that feeling of being wanted, that feeling of being accepted. And if the other person sits there and goes, well, it's not fair that I have to go ahead and do something that I don't want to do. It's like, really? You think that other person isn't doing certain things that they don't want to do for you? Really? Be honest with yourself. And it's usually women that make that argument. And then those are usually the women that go out and cheat. And then sit there and say, well, he was neglecting me. No, he wasn't. You were constantly turning him down. And if he stops asking, well, then you have no one to blame but yourself. You can't sit there constantly shoot someone down and expect them to keep getting up and coming back. And a lot of women are all like, oh, well, you have to play hard to get. It's all like, there's a difference between playing hard to get and continuously smacking the person down. There's a big, big difference. Playing hard to get is more of a playful thing. It's not one of those. It's not one of those. Oh no, you're a worthless piece of shit. Get the fuck away from me. And then them have to just be pushy about it. Because the thing is then you get mad at them when you're legitimately saying no. Because they can't tell the difference. Because you're not giving off any of those signals. Or you're giving off such subtle signals that no normal human is going to learn to read those. Not anytime soon. But I don't know. It's just one of those situations of, like, with me, I don't know. I guess I'm past the point of the bullshit part of dating. Like, I want someone that's going to actually be able to be honest about what they want up front, so that way I don't have to sit there and waste 6, 7, 8, or even a year, just trying to figure out whether or not me and this person are compatible on a basic level, let alone the advanced levels. Like, for me, honestly, I always warn them. I'm all like, look, the first 1 or 2 dates, it's going to be us sitting there and basically giving a summarized history of our dating life. Not going into any real detail or anything like that, especially not as far as, like, lovemaking or anything like that. But, just as far as, like, certain traits that we're all like, oh, hell no. So that way, if one of those traits, and it allows us to be honest with ourselves. Like, if a woman sits there and says, oh yeah, I won't ever date a video gamer because X, Y, or Z. I'll be all like, oh, well, then we're wasting our time here. Bye. Or if a woman sits there and says, yeah, I've cheated on a partner in the past. No, bye. Sorry. Doesn't matter how much I like you. No, if I can't trust you. Because if that motherfucker couldn't trust you, I can't trust you. And I'm not going to sit there and take your word on what happened. Because I'm not able to talk to the other person. It's also the same thing of, yeah, well, I'm in constant contact with my ex, we constantly hang out and that sort of thing. A lot of guys have problems with that. It's like, yeah, they have a good reason to have an issue with that. Especially if you're wanting to hang out with your ex while your new person is not around. Just saying. Because, if y'all are cool with it, then it's not going to be an awkward thing necessarily. Perfect example, like, me and my ex that I have a kid with. Me and her new guy, best friends. She cheated on me with him. Me and him have no issues. Like, not with each other anyway. Both of us have an issue with her now. Like, he knows not to trust her. And anytime she does anything that's even remotely close, he calls her out on it. Gotta applaud the guy. I think he's stupid for being with her, but it is what it is. It's his choice. But me and him, we hang out, we talk. Anytime she comes over to drop off my daughter, me and him will bullshit while she goes ahead and bullshits with my mom. It's just one of those situations of, a lot of people would think that it's weird, but it's actually not. Because the thing is me and him, we actually head out and we both spend time with my daughter at the same time. A lot of people, kind of look sideways, going, what the fuck is this? But the reason is because he didn't know what was going on. He got pissed off as soon as he found out. In fact, he almost broke up with her as soon as that was a thing. And he had just moved in with her when he found out. But, yeah. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, be honest about what you want. And don't expect the world of someone. Don't expect perfection from someone. And sure as hell, don't expect someone to change their core personality. Don't do that. That is way beyond any expectation. You are not worth that. Just let's be honest. You are not worth someone going ahead and fucking themselves up mentally for the rest of their lives just to make you happy. Alright? And I don't care who's watching this. And this isn't me saying that you're worthless or anything like that. I'm just saying you need to definitely be accurate about your self-assessment and your worth to this other person. Because the thing is, if you're not willing to go ahead and make those core changes on their whim to yourself, you never expect it from them.